Alright, yo, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So, if you couldn't already tell from the title, today we're going to be doing a challenge on Let's Go Pikachu, and that is a hardcore Monotype electric Nuzlocke challenge. And before we get into things, I just want to give a massive thanks for all the support on the channel recently, despite going a bit inactive again. But we've actually had 4,000 hours now, which I've been working towards for about a year now, which is insane. I can't put into words how much that means, so just thank you all for that. If you're new to the channel too and find yourself enjoying the content, make sure you smack that subscribe button. I've got many more videos like this in the works coming out soon. And anyways, with all that said, let's jump back into things. Right now, you'll see a number on your screen. Skip to that number in the video if you already know the rules of the challenge, and if not, I'm going to get into them right now. So, the rules of the run. I can only catch the first Pokemon I encounter or will walk into on each route. Electric types are only allowed to be used in battle. Any type of force battles are exempt to this rule, but non-electric type Pokemon cannot use any damaging moves if so. For rule 3, I am not allowed to overlevel. My level cap will be set at the highest level of each next gym leader's highest leveled Pokemon. Items are not allowed to be used in battle, but they can be used outside of battle. My battle style option must be put as set. I'm not allowed to recatch any caught Pokemon or any of their evolutions later down the line, and for the last rule, if a Pokemon faints, it is classed as dead and can no longer be used in the run. I am also going to give myself again a limit of 2 BS save resets. So we start things off as picking our name as Ant, we pick our rival's name as Trace, and then we go get our Pikachu. Once we got our Pikachu, we went into our first rival fight with Pokemon trainer Trace. And basically what we done for this fight was we just Thunder Shock spammed all the way to the end. This fight was actually pretty close. If Eevee was a bit faster than us, we probably would have lost this. But that was Pokemon Trainer Trace defeated. Then out in Route 1 I go and catch an Oddish. And then just left of Viridian City I go catch myself a Spearow. So the reason that I'm catching a bunch of Pokemon that aren't electric types is because there's no wild battles. So the way to get experience outside of trainer battles is by catching wild Pokemon. Now still, I can only catch one per route, so it's going to be difficult, especially when considering things like gym requirements. So we get into our second rival battle against Trace, and he first off sends out a Pidgey. We take down the Pidgey obviously pretty easily using Thunder Shock with our Pikachu. And then we get up against Eevee again, and to beat Eevee, again, like last time, we just go for our Thunder Shock spam. Eventually Eevee goes down and we beat Pokemon Trainer Trace in our second rival battle. Alright, so just before going into Viridian Forest I go capture myself a Pidgey. And then in Viridian Forest I go capture myself a Metapod. And then in the grass just before Pewter City I go capture myself a Weedle. Now with the Oddish I caught earlier, I take him into the gym to begin with because there's a requirement of having a water or grass type Pokemon in your party. I then took Oddish out the party, defeated all the trainers in the gym and went for Brock. Now basically to beat Brock what you need to do is, you need to double kick spam. Sadly I was quite underleveled for this fight, but I knew I was going to be fine. We've only been able to capture one Pokemon in each route, and having beaten every trainer, the highest level I was able to get to was level 10. But it was okay because 2 double kicks on Geodude was enough to take it down, and this was also the same case for Onix as well. We also used Tail Whip on Onix to lower its defense to help us out, but after Tail Whip, 2 double kicks on the Onix was enough to take it down and help us defeat the gym and get ourselves the Boulder Badge. Just before Mount Moon then I go capture myself a Mankey, and then inside Mount Moon I go capture myself a Geodude. Now this Geodude is needed because it's going to become something in my party a bit later into the game. So we get to the end of Mount Moon after collecting the fossil, and it's time to fight Jesse and James. Now Jesse and James request me to have 2 Pokemon in my party, and at this moment in the game I've only got 1 Pokemon, so this is one of those force battles I was talking about earlier. So what I do is I go get the Metapod I caught in Viridian Forest earlier, bring him into my team and try to use that as my way to get through the fight. Because it's a Pokemon that is not going to deal any damage to my opponents, he is eligible for this fight. Now Metapod actually goes down quite easily, so that's the first death of the run even though it's not an electric type. And I actually had kept Geodude in my team. Now luckily Geodude had a move that wasn't going to damage the opponent, so he was also eligible. The reason I kept him in my team was I wanted to get him some experience, because at the time I was thinking that when I trade him, the Geodude that I get given back, the Alolan Geodude, which is part electric type, I was thinking was also going to be the matching level. After a Thundershock and Sand Attack spam on Team Rocket, we managed to get through the fight, and then out on the route just outside of Mount Moon between Cerulean City we caught ourselves a Sandshrew, before then going into the Pokemon Center of Cerulean City and teaching to our Pikachu the move Zippy Zap. Straight after this we head into Rival 3. Trace as usual leads with his Pidgey, which we take down with one Zippy Zap, and next out comes his Oddish. Oddish is a bit of a problem for us at this moment of time in the run. We've got nothing that we can actually use against grass types. I eventually took him down, even though midway through the fight, Trace did use a potion to heal up his Oddish, and we also got poisoned from acid. Oddish went down though, and then last left for Trace was just his Eevee. So Eevee come out, we used Zippy Zap, put it down into Red Life, and then Eevee used Tail Whip, and then we took it down with one more Zippy Zap straight after. And that was enough for us to defeat Rival 3. So after this we went and met Bill, beat quite a few of the trainers down there but decided to leave some as well, and then headed into Cerulean Gym to fight Misty. Now I wasn't fully leveled for this fight, but I knew level 17 was going to be enough, so I went into the fight with Misty. I used Zippy Zap on Psyduck and took it down, and now all that was left was Misty's Starmie. So I went for a Zippy Zap, it was almost enough. Starmie then went for Scald on my Pikachu, and then I went back for another Zippy Zap and finished the fight. So because of this we won the second gym badge. So I can't actually find a clip, but after beating the Cerulean Gym, we headed down to Vermilion and we traded our Geodude from Mount Moon with a man inside the Pokemon Center for an Alolan Geodude. After that we boarded onto the SSN and headed into Rival 4. He started off with Pidgeotto. Again, it's not really much of a problem for us, so I sent out P. Then P took down Pidgeotto with ease for the use of Zippy Zap, and then Trace decided to go for Eevee. So again it's just another Zippy Zap spam basically until Eevee goes down, and then last all he'd have is Oddish. So with Zippy Zap spam took down the Eevee, and then he sent out his last Pokemon. So again, Oddish is a Pokemon that we can't really do much damage on, and he can hit us quite hard, so we were going to have to get lucky. So Oddish's HP was in a position where he was going to use a potion while he put our Pikachu to sleep. Thankfully Pikachu woke himself up, but we were still in quite a difficult position against Oddish. Thankfully again though, Pikachu shook himself awake from the sleep powder, went for Zippy Zap, put him down into one shot, and then was able to finish him off in the next turn. With that done, we defeated Trace and then went and got ourselves a HM cut. So from here I want to use my rare candies and evolve Geodude into an Alolan Graveler, because obviously Alolan Graveler was going to be way better in this gym than an Alolan Geodude. So once we evolved him, I then went into the fight against Lieutenant Serge. In this fight I decided to lead with my new Alolan Graveler because I knew he was going to be very strong in this gym. The one problem with Alolan Graveler though is his very low special defense. So in this fight he's still pretty prone to being very high risk. I knew he wasn't going to go down there, especially not to Voltorb, and one dig was all it took to take down the Voltorb, and then next, Lieutenant Serge sent out his Raichu. Despite the low special defense, I knew Graveler wasn't going to go down against Raichu at that HP, so I went for dig, and I put Raichu all the way down to 1 HP. It was very close, and from here I didn't think he'd survive if Raichu got a high roll, so I switched then over to my Pikachu to finish him off. Now for some reason Pikachu didn't actually have dig for this gym, and I'm not sure why I didn't have it on him. But it was nothing to worry about though, because a double kick was able to take down Raichu, and then lastly Lieutenant Surge sent out his Magnemite. Magnemite was also not going to be a problem as we had a super effective attack, as one double kick put him all the way down into one shot, and then another use of double kick was able to finish him off in the next turn, winning us the Thunder Badge. From here I went to Lavender Town, dodging every single optional trainer inside Rock Tunnel because I knew that there was a lot of trainers in there that were very risky and could kill me. So I went past them all and I went into Pokemon Tower to get into the rival fight number 5. And the reason I dodged all these trainers in Rock Tunnel is because I can go back to them at a later time when I'm a bit more higher leveled and they're no longer a risk. So in this fight against Trace, he leads with his Pidgeotto as normal and I lead with my Graveler. Now Graveler went for a Rock Slide here and it was a one shot on Pidgeotto. Trace then sent out his Gloom. Now in this fight Gloom is actually not a risk, because Gloom's attacks are pretty much all physical. So I decided to keep in my Graveler and go for a Seismic Toss spam until Gloom went down. 3 Seismic Tosses being enough to take down the Gloom. Now lastly Trace sent out his newly evolved partner, Jolteon. Jolteon also isn't really much of a problem in this fight, so I stay in with my Graveler and use Dig. Now Dig's enough to put Jolteon all the way down into one shot, but what I forgot to think about was Trace using an item. So I went for a seismic toss and it missed. Now my bad luck started kicking in, because then I went for another seismic toss on the very next turn and it missed again. And if I think I was having bad luck before, I then went for another seismic toss and it missed again. So I switched from here to Graveler to P to finish off the rest of the fight, because Graveler was not going to survive another attack. It was too risky to keep him in. So we switched to Pikachu. And again, for some reason, I didn't have Dig for this fight, and I'm really not sure why. But again, Jolteon's not a problem. So we just double kick spammed him until he eventually went down. And eventually Jolteon went down and we won the 5th rival battle of the run. Whilst inside Pokemon Tower, I decided to fight against a coach trainer to get some Pikachu candy. Now, this was very risky of me, because I almost actually lost Pikachu here from some very stupid play. So thankfully we wasn't punished for our carelessness. We got some Pikachu candy and that was going to be a major help for some upcoming fights. So we went down to Celadon City and we invaded into the Team Rocket's hideout, getting into our second fight of the run against Jesse and James. Now this fight can be very tricky. Now the way I got through this fight was I doubled up my attacks on each Pokemon. So in the first turn I decided I was going to go for Dig on Arbok with Pikachu, and I also went for Dig on Arbok with Graveler as well. One Dig from Pikachu put Arbok down into one shot, and then Graveler was able to come along and finish off the rest of the job, taking Arbok down, which just left James's Weezing. Following the same strategy again, we went and doubled up our Digs on Weezing, as the double up of the Dig attacks would leave Weezing into one shot. So from here I went for Zippy Zap on Weezing to finish off Jesse and James. After this, before we could get to Giovanni, there was another person standing in our way, which was Team Rocket Admin Archer. Team Rocket Admin Archer starts off with a Weezing as I go for a few digs. Luckily we managed to dodge the Sludge Bomb, as our second dig would put Weezing into one shot. Unfortunately we got poisoned, and for some reason as well, I'm not sure why, but I went for Dig for the third final hit as well, even though I knew Zippy Zap killed. It was nothing to worry about though, because we took down Weezing, and now lastly left for Archer was his Golbat. I was pretty sure Pikachu would have one-shotted this as well, but I just wanted to play it safe. It's too risky at this point to gamble Pikachu's life, so I switched into Graveler, my healthy safe option, and then used 2 Thunder Punches from here to take down Golbat and defeat Archer. So I actually decided I was going to leave Giovanni from here, because at this point in the game, especially with our level cap of 34 for Erica, Giovanni was too difficult. There was no way we was getting through Giovanni without dying at our current level. So the only way to go forward from here was to beat Erica. I went into the Celadon City Pokemon Center and spoke to the move trainer, who teach me the move Floaty Fall, a flying type move that Pikachu could learn, which would help us get through this gym. Pretty much all this gym was a Floaty Fall spam. The first use of Floaty Fall would cause Tangela to flinch, and the second use of Floaty Fall was enough to take down Tangela. Next came out Vileplume as we went for another Floaty Fall. I was hoping to get another flinch, but it didn't happen and we got Mega Drained. But still, even after the Mega Drain recovery, Vileplume still didn't have enough life to survive another Floaty Fall, as now her last Pokemon Weeping Bell would come out and we'd one-shot this with another Floaty Fall, winning ourselves the Rainbow Badge. So to be able to proceed any further into the game, we had to beat Giovanni. Now Giovanni was still too strong for us at this point, but our new level cap was now at level 44 because of Koga. So we was able to go fight a load of other trainers that we hadn't fought in the game. We went and fought all the fighting type trainers inside the Saffron City Dojo. We then went up to routes outside of Rock Tunnel and fought trainers there. We then fought all the other trainers inside Pokemon Tower as well. And because of this, we found ourselves at a safe enough level to take on Giovanni. Giovanni's got a Rhyhorn, which is a Pokemon I definitely like to avoid in this game. So luckily we actually dodged a fake out here and go for a Floaty Fall. And it puts Persian into one shot, and we go for a Zippy Zap to finish him off. Next what would come out is Giovanni's Rhyhorn as a dig spam. Luckily at this point in the game, Giovanni's Rhyhorn doesn't know Earthquake, so we're able to use Dig, dodge a bunch of ground type attacks every few turns, and also hit Rhyhorn for quite good super effective damage. 2 digs was all it took to take down Rhyhorn, and because of this we defeated Giovanni. So now we was able to proceed further into the game because we got the Sylph Lens. This item allowed us to get past the ghost of Cubone's mother, and then to the top floor of Pokemon Tower, where we get into our third fight against Jesse and James. Jesse and James again go for Arbok and Weezing, so again just like last time we're going to double up our attacks on each Pokemon and get through it with ease. 2 digs took down Jesse's Arbok, and now all that was left was Weezing. Due to being high level this time, 2 digs was all it would take to take down James's Weezing, and then we was able to save Mr. Fuji. Saving Mr. Fuji gets us a Pokeflute, which means we can get past Snorlax, which is blocking the path to get us from Celadon to Fuchsia City. So from here on Route 17 we went and got into an encounter with an Eevee, finally another Pokemon that we could add to the team. So after catching Eevee, we went and gave it a Thunderstone and evolved it into the electric type evolution Jolteon, making it eligible for our team, which means that we finally got our 3rd member of our team for the run. So after making it to Fuchsia City, we was hit with a pretty bad brick wall. We needed to have 50 Pokemon to enter the gym and we only had 28. So what better way to make use of my Pokemon Go account than transferring a few Pokemon over. I didn't want to do that because we was catching more than one Pokemon in one area, but we're exempt with breaking Nuzlocke rules when it's something that the game forces us to do. So I got into my battle with Koga, and I led with Graveler. I went for Dig on the Weezing. A lot of times Weezing liked to go for Protect on the first turn, so I could get myself underground, and then on the next turn he can't use Protect again, so I can hit him. Now on the turn after this, he's probably going to go for Protect again, there's a very good chance, so I do the same. I go for Dig again on the second turn that I can attack, and he goes for Protect, so I'm underground. I come back up on the next turn. I also expel Toxic, which was very nice, and then I put Weezing down into one shot. Weezing goes for a Sludge Bomb, lowers my HP a little more, and I finish him off with a Seismic Toss. So next out came Muck. Now I knew Graveler was faster, so I went for a Rock Slide hoping to try and get a flinch. That didn't happen and we got hit by Toxic. Now, because he used Toxic this turn, there's a high chance he's going to use Protect the next turn, so I went for a Dig to try and get around that, and he did go for Protect, so I went underground with Dig. I expelled the Poison as well, which is very nice, and on the next turn I come back up and took Muck down. So next out came Venomoth, a Pokemon I was very worried about because it was a special attacker, but after looking into a lot of things I knew I was going to survive the attack that it was likely to go for, so I went for my Rock Slide. I stayed in, he didn't take me down thankfully. So next thing came Golbat, and I knew I had to switch here, so I switched out from Graveler to my Jolteon, and on the very next turn after taking that Leech Life I went for Thunderbolt, took down the Golbat, and that was Koga defeated. So next up was now Silphco, and we had to go fight against Blue inside. He leads with Executor, I lead with P, and I go for Floaty Fall here to try and get a flinch. This doesn't work, but luckily we actually dodge a Psychic after, and then I go for another Floaty Fall, take down the Executor, which now just leaves Blue with his Charizard. Same thing with Charizard, we two-shot it down with a super effective attack with Zippy Zap. He hits us with a Heat Wave that could have killed us if it was a crit, but thankfully it didn't, meaning that we could go in on the next turn, use Zippy Zap and finish off Blue's Charizard to win the fight. So next up in Silphco we had to fight against Archer and the Team Rocket Grunt. In this fight they lead with Muck and Electrode, and I know what they're going to go for here, so I go for Dig to get myself out of the way of the attack. So Muck will use Protect whilst Electrode uses Self-Destruct, so I had to get underground to get out of the way. Also P now just hit level cap, so we couldn't let him level up one more time. It was going to start getting pretty difficult around here. At this moment in time as well we only had 2 Pokemon with us because Graveler had also hit level cap. So a second Dig took down the Weezing, whilst Cubone managed to take down Muck. Golbat and Raticate was left, so I knew I was going to one-shot Golbat. I go for Zippy Zap, and now all that leaves is just Raticate. Cubone puts Raticate down into Half-Life, and I go and finish him off on the very next turn with Zippy Zap, which allows us to win the fight and get the card key. Up on the top floor before we can get to Giovanni, we got to get into Team Rocket 4. Another fight where just Jesse and James have Weezing and Arbok, and we're able to take them down. I go for Dig again because it's super effective, whilst Jolteon goes and puts Weezing down into one shot. So I go finish off Weezing this time with another Thunderbolt, and because we're quite a few levels higher, we're actually able to one-shot the Arbok this time as well. Both Pokemon going down, so we got through that fight very easily. Now next up was Giovanni. P comes out and he uses Zippy Zap, but we're hit by Fake Out first. It's okay though, because on the next turn we use Zippy Zap, and we put Persian down into one shot, and then we hit Persian one more time with another Zippy Zap on the next turn, taking him down. Now I had to be quite careful here because we was coming close to hitting our level cap. I knew Rhyhorn was going to go down here, so I went for Splishy Splash, and then I looked at Nidoking next. Nidoking was also able to be taken down in 2 shots, so that's what we went for. A second Splishy Splash taking down Nidoking, which won us the fight and got us a Master Ball. So next up, when we tried to enter the Saffron City gym, he told us we only need a level 45 Pokemon to enter. None of our Pokemon was level 45 at the time because we was trying not to hit level 45, as hitting level 45 would mean it's not allowed to be used in the battle. So I decided now that we had the Master Ball, it was time to go capture Zapdos. So I put a Toxic on Zapdos and started to stall and wear him down. And then I switched into Graveler when the Zapdos was on low life. Zapdos now in a position where we can finish him off, so we use Rock Slide with Graveler, take down the Zapdos, and then we go and capture him after. Now sadly this wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. Graveler leveled up here because he gets boosted EXP as he was a traded Pokemon. Zapdos and unfortunately Graveler were enough to let us into the gym, which meant we was going into the Sabrina fight with only 2 of our Pokemon. It was quite good though that it was Graveler instead of someone else, because Graveler's got very low special defense, so I'm not actually too sure how well he would have done in this gym, but it would have been nice to just have that extra backup, even though I feel like we probably wouldn't have used him. So what I decided to start doing at first is stalling the Mr. Mime. I'll protect for a turn, then I'll hit him the next turn, and I'll just keep doing that on repeat. Wear down the Mr. Mime until he gets into positions where I can kill him safely. Mr. Mime went down, then next out came Slowbro, one of them Pokemon that I probably would have been able to one-shot if Light Screen wasn't on. So again it was time to stall him down. Slowbro went down. I wasn't too sure if it was going to one-shot, so I had to just go for what I could. Pikachu also here leveled up to level 45, but because he leveled up in the battle, it doesn't count as over-leveling. Fortunately, we managed to get a safe switch into Pikachu here as well, dodging the Psychic from the Jinx. And then on the next turn, going for Floaty Fall, because I wanted to try to cause a flinch. It actually did cause a flinch, so it was very lucky, and then I just went for a Zippy Zap to finish it off. And now, all there was to lastly beat was our Alakazam, so I went for Zippy Zap again, knowing it's got bad defences, and we almost one-shot it. And then Psychic puts us down into our own one-shot, but because we're faster with Zippy Zap, we take down the Alakazam, and that was Sabrina defeated. From here we surf down onto Cinnabar Island, get the secret key, and enter the Cinnabar Island gym. Blaine now standing in our way of getting the 7th gym badge. So he sent out Magmar and I start with P, and I went for a Splishy Splash, putting Magmar down into one shot. Magmar did hit me with a Confused Ray here, but I decided at the time that my best option was to just continue on. So I went for another Splishy Splash and we took down Magmar. Next out came Rapidash. I went for another Splishy Splash, trying to beat the Confused Ray. And we did, and we put Rapidash down into one shot, and we also paralysed Rapidash as well. Now Rapidash was very weak. We snap out of our confusion, another Splishy Splash, take down Rapidash, and now it's 2 of Blaine's Pokemon down. Now Arcanine's physical, so I decided here that Graveler's my best choice. Switch into Graveler, I take the Flare Blitz, and then start to hit with Rock Slides. So Outrage puts us down a little more. Our Rock Slide puts Arcanine down into one shot, and then another Outrage was hit on us, put us down into Red Life, but we was also able to finish off Arcanine with our own Rock Slide. Now lastly, all we had to beat was Blaine's Ninetales, so I switch here over to Static, just because I know it's got quite high special defense, so I go here for a Protect just to try and PP waste. And then I go for a Toxic, starting to chip down the Ninetales life any way I could. He puts us down into Red Life and we go for Protect. This wastes another one of the Ninetales PP and Fire Blast, and then that meant there was only one more left. Now to get away from that last Fire Blast, I use Dig here to dodge it. I go underground, they use Fire Blast, it misses, they're now out of Fire Blasts, and then they decide they want to use here Quick Attack. And because they used that, we managed to take Ninetales down into very low life, and Poison could do the rest of the damage, taking down the Ninetales and helping us beat Blaine. Because of this we won the Volcano badge, and then I decided what I needed to do was I needed to level everybody up. So our new level cap now was level 50, and there's a few trainers on the run that I had left out previously, so I decided to go back and fight a few of them before heading to Viridian City. And I also went around the region and picked up a few items, getting Roost, and I also went to the shop and got U-Turn as well, teaching them both to Zapdos before going in to fight Giovanni. What was nice about this gym was that the level cap was level 50, which allowed us to bring Zapdos, which also gave us an advantage against ground types, our biggest weakness in the run. So we now had a way to avoid that, which was very nice. So we get into the fight and start chipping down on the opponent's life as much as we can, while also trying to keep ourselves as healthy as possible too. From using a few Drill Pecks, I slowly took down the Dug trio before Giovanni's Rhydon was then sent out to the fight. So I knew here Rock Slide was coming, so I went and switched over to my Pikachu that I knew could one-shot Rhydon. We take the Rock Slide and we go for a Splishy Splash and the Rhydon goes down. Now next out coming was another ground type that was going to go for an Earthquake to take down Pikachu. So I switch here back to Zapdos. As what I mentioned earlier, we now had a way to dodge Earthquakes. We used Draw Peck on the Nidoking, who had pretty high defences, so we had to just start slowly chipping down at its life, hoping that Crunch doesn't give us a defense drop. Again, staying as healthy as possible is what we needed, and sadly we did get that defense drop. But it was okay because we was just going to take down Nidoking, and then all we had to do after that was take down one last Pokemon, being Nidoking. So I went for Draw Peck here and took down the Nidoking, and lastly came out the final Pokemon, being Nidoking. What I decided was good to do here was to switch over to another Pokemon just to take a bit of damage. Because what this means is we can dodge an Earthquake with Zapdos, and we can also come back in having lost that defense drop. Now it's time to just slowly chip down Nidoking's life. I was going to keep using Roost for now until I knew it was safe. We started getting a bit of bad luck with the poison, as I kept using Roost to try and put myself into a position where I could take 2 shots. Eventually, after a bunch of Roosts, I felt we was in a position. I chipped down a tiny bit more damage on the Nidoking with U-turn, switched to Graveler to take a resisted damage from the poison jab, then switch back over to Zapdos. Now what this was going to do was we was going to dodge Earthquake again, and we was able to kill Nidoking here with a Draw Peck. But I decided that I wanted to still play it safe, so I went for U-turn again, switched back over to Graveler, and was just going to continue this process. We didn't want to take no risks here. So we took another poison jab. It didn't do much damage. We switched back over to Zapdos and dodged another Earthquake, and then this time I decided to finish him off with Draw Peck because I knew it was 100% guaranteed. So we took down the Nidoking and we beaten Giovanni. So because we've beaten the 8th gym leader now, we can get into the last rival fight before the Pokemon League. So we go and start off with Pikachu in this fight against his Pidgeot, and I go for a Zippy Zap here, which puts the Pidgeot down into one shot. Pidgeot hits us with a quick attack, and then I go and finish him off with a Zippy Zap. Next in after this comes out Trace's Vileplume, and I go for a Floaty Fall, trying to get that flinch as per normal. And it does actually give us a flinch, so Vileplume's now down in one shot, another Floaty Fall to finish him off. That's 2 of Trace's Pokemon down and 2 to go. Malwa comes in next, and because I've got super effective attack against him, I go for Splishy Splash. And we put Marowak also down into one shot, and we also seem to paralyze him as well, while he goes for Focus Energy. And then we go for the next turn, Splishy Splash once again, take down Marowak, and now all that is left is Trace's last Pokemon. Trace now sends out his Jolteon, which we start off by going for Dig. The impact of our Dig puts Jolteon down into very low life. He hits us with a Thunder, and then on the next turn we're now actually able to finish him off, so I go for another Dig. We dodge a quick attack. I'm underground now, I come back up, hit the Jolteon, Jolteon goes down, which means Peace swept Trace's entire team. After this we went into Victory Road, leading with Zapdos through most of the fights because we knew that he was one of the best in our team to use. Also we tried to battle as many trainers as we could, still leaving out a lot of the best ones because we wanted to get our levels up as much as we could, as our new level cap was going to be around about level 55, somewhere in between the lowest Pokemon in the Elite Four and the highest. And eventually we made it out to the other side of Victory Road, and we bought a bunch of items that we was going to use to heal ourselves outside of battle before going back out and fighting a bunch of other trainers that we'd left off during the run. Once I felt I'd done enough training, I got everyone to level 54 and used my last 3 rare candies to level everyone up to level 55. And because of this, we was now ready to go into the Elite Four, get into our first battle against the Ice type trainer Lorelei. She leads with her Dugong, and I decided to lead with Static here because I know Static was going to do a lot of damage to the Pokemon here. I start off with a Thunderbolt, and it puts Dugong down into one shot. We take a bit of waterfall damage, and then once again go for another Thunderbolt and take down the Dugong. So next out comes a Jinx, and what I decide to go for here is Shadow Ball, a move I learnt before getting into this battle. Shadow Ball puts Jinx down into one shot, and we go finish it off the next turn with another Shadow Ball. After this she brings out Cloyster, a Pokemon with pretty low special defense. So I go for a Thunderbolt and take it down. So next out comes a Lapras, and we go for a Thunderbolt here. Thunderbolt doing good damage, putting Lapras all the way down into one shot. They miss their Blizzard, and then I go for another Thunderbolt on the next turn, and we take down Lapras, leaving our last Pokemon, Slowbro. So Slowbro comes out, I use Thunderbolt and do very good damage as he hits us back with his Surf, critical hit, but then on the next turn I'm able to finish him off with another Thunderbolt and defeat Lorelei. So now it's time for fight 2 of the Pokemon League, our fight against Bruno. Bruno starts off with his Onix and I start off with P. I knew that P was able to take down Onix through Splishy Splash, so I went for Splishy Splash, took down Onix, and that was his first Pokemon taken down. Next in for Bruno came out Machamp. So for Machamp, I went here for Floaty Fall and was trying to get a flinch, and luckily we managed to get our flinch too. So Machamp couldn't hit us. We go for Floaty Fall again on the next turn and we take him down. The Pokemon coming in for Bruno after this now is Poliwrath, and for Poliwrath I go for a Zippy Zap thinking it would do more damage. Poliwrath gets put down into one shot, hits us with a superpower which was also a crit. After this we go for another Zippy Zap and we take down Poliwrath. Bruno now only has 2 remaining Pokemon, so I go from P and I switch over to Zapdos here, and Hitmonlee hits us with a Brick Break. So then on the next turn I go for Drill Peck, and I actually thought it was going to kill and it didn't, and then he hit us with a Rock Slide. But it was okay because on the next turn we was able to take him down, leaving Bruno with one last Pokemon being his Hitmonchan. Hitmonchan then come out for Bruno and I hit with a Drill Peck thinking this would also one shot and it didn't. So we actually got very lucky that we weren't taken down there, because a crit from either Rock Slide or Ice Punch probably would have killed us. Now I was anticipating Mac Punches, so I switched out just to play it safe and went into Static. He did still hit us with Ice Punch, but it's okay because we played it safe and we went with Jolteon, used a Thunderbolt, finished off Hitmonchan, and that was Bruno defeated. So with Bruno now defeated, it meant we could move on to Agatha, the 3rd trainer in the Pokemon League. In this battle, Agatha leads with her Arbok, and I decided I was going to lead with my Zapdos and go for a Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt puts Arbok down just below half life, so another Thunderbolt on the next turn will be enough to take him down. After this, she brings out a second Pokemon, Gengar, and I go for the same thing again, another Thunderbolt. We do get hit by Sludge Bomb and do get poisoned and do get put down into really low life though, so we couldn't stay in any longer with Zapdos. Me and Zapdos was finished for the rest of the battle. I went here with P because I felt like P was going to be best to defeat this. So my Pikachu come out, took a Sludge Bomb that did do a lot of damage. So we went for Dig afterwards, and because we was faster than the Gengar, we was able to dodge a Sludge Bomb, then come up on the next turn and take down Gengar. So next out come a Weezing, and I knew that I wasn't able to stay in here, so I had to switch out and go to Graveler. Graveler here took the Sludge Bomb without taking much damage and then went for Dig. Now we was actually speed tied, so what this meant was Weezing went second this turn and then on the next turn he went first. So because of this we was able to dodge 2 Shadow Balls in a row, but then he hits first this time and we go underground, and then on the next turn we hit first, so he's able to hit us both times this time, and he puts Graveler down into very low life. Now I couldn't take a risk on a speed tie, so I had to switch here and go into Jolteon. Now because Jolteon's got very high special defense, again this doesn't do much damage, but it does lower our special defense. That's okay though, because we're able to take down the Weezing on the next turn. But it's not okay because Gengar now comes in, and Jolteon now has got a lowered special defense stat, whilst Gengar has already got a high special attacking base stat too. We are faster though, so our Shadow Ball puts Gengar down into one shot, he puts us down onto very low life, and then our next Shadow Ball on the next turn was able to take down Gengar. So we are all on quite low life right now, but her last Pokemon now was Golbat, and I knew that we was faster, and I also knew that we was going to one-shot it, so I went for Thunderbolt and I finished off the Golbat and I defeated Agatha. So we was getting into our last fight now of the Elite Four part of the Pokemon League, fighting against Pokemon trainer Lance. Lance starts off with Seadra and I start off with my Jolteon. Now Jolteon here can take down the Seadra with one shot with Thunderbolt, so we went for that and took him down. And then nextly he brought out Aerodactyl. Now Aerodactyl on a damage roll can be taken down from the Thunderbolt here, but sadly we're not lucky enough and he does survive on very low HP. Hits us with an Earthquake. It's okay though, because we're able to come in on the next turn, use another Thunderbolt and finish off Aerodactyl. The next Pokemon that Lance wants to use here is Gyarados. Now I know that we're faster and I know that it's 4 times weak to Electric, so another Thunderbolt here was going to one-shot his 3rd Pokemon. But now it was starting to get risky, so I had to switch out here and I went over into Zapdos and he went for a Hyper Beam on us. which was actually quite a good thing because it didn't do too much damage and it also made him unable to attack on the next turn. So then I went for a Thunderbolt on Charizard, took him down, and now all that was left was Lance's Dragonite. So to start off this fight, I actually went for a Roost here to scout out the attack he was going to use and to scout out the damage. He went for Outrage and it done well over half damage, so I was now into one shot and it was too risky to stay in, but because I was fast I was able to chip a bit of damage off him with U-turn, then switch into Gravel, who's got very high defences. Gravel with very high defense did take the Outrage with over half life, but sadly Dragonite was not going to be locked into this move anymore. Now, I wasn't sure what he was going to go for, but he did go for another Outrage that put us into very low life as we hit him with a Rock Slide and put him down into very low life also. Now, it was too unsafe to stay in. I was not going to try and take the risk of confusion, so I switched over to Pier. Dragonite went for Outrage as well, but luckily we did manage to dodge it, which was nice. So I went for Floaty Fall here, which I felt again was going to be a damage roll to kill, but it didn't kill. But the reason I went for Floaty Fall was it could get a flinch, so we got the flinch. I went for a Floaty Fall again, took down the Dragonite, and that was Lance defeated. So with Lance out of the way now, it meant there was one last fight in the Pokemon League. Me versus my rival, Champion Trace. So he starts off with Pidgeot here and I start off with Zapdos because Zapdos had a chance to finish off Pidgeot with Thunderbolt. Now what I was forgetting here was that it was going to Mega Evolve and become faster than us because of it. He went for Heat Wave on the first turn and missed it. I went for a Thunderbolt and put Pidgeot down into very low life. Trace uses a full restore and I go for another Thunderbolt after putting him down into pretty much the same life. Now he does hit us with Heat Wave this turn, but it doesn't do too much damage, so we go for another Thunderbolt, finish off the Pidgeot, and that's his first Pokemon down. The next Pokemon that he uses here is Rapidash. Now I know it's going to go for a physical move, but I still wanted to go for my attack first because I knew I was going to survive, so he went for a Flare Blitz, but he did burn us. That meant we was doing less damage with our physical moves, but it was okay because we was going to have to switch anyway most likely, so I switched over here into Graveler. He went for another Flare Blitz, it didn't do too much damage, and then I went here for a Rock Slide. Another Flare Blitz coming once again, still didn't do too much damage. We hit the Rock Slide and that was Rapidash down. So next thing came Vileplume, and I know it was going to go for a Grass type attack, so I switched over to P here because P was the only Pokemon with a Flying type move that was going to be able to handle this. So what I decided here was to go for Floaty Fall. I wanted to try and get a flinch, but I probably should have also used Dig to definitely dodge Solar Beam, but luckily, you know, we dodged it anyway, so it was okay. We went for another Floaty Fall after this and took down the Vileplume. Next along came Marowak, a Pokemon that I knew I was going to two-shot with Splishy Splash, but I was quite worried because I knew what type of moves it could go for on me as well. But I went for Splishy Splash, took Marowak down just below half health, paralysed him. He went for Boomerang. He took us down all the way down into red life. But then we went for another Splishy Splash after as we was faster and was able to finish off Marowak. What's good about this fight is that if a Pokemon dies, it does not matter because it's the last fight of the run. I don't want any of my Pokemon to die, but I actually wanted to finish this fight without losing anyone in the run. So I switched out here because it was getting quite dangerous and I went into my Jolteon. Jolteon got hit by a Psychic, but because Jolteon's got good special defense, it didn't do too much damage, and Thunderbolt here gets me a critical hit and takes down the Slowbro. Now lastly, all that is left of Trace's team is his own Jolteon. So the two Pokemon in the fight right now are my own Jolteon and his Jolteon. I decided to try and stall him down, go for a Toxic on the first turn. He hits us with a Pin Missile. It doesn't do too much damage, but it does chip us down quite a bit. So now it's time to just start stalling him out. I went for a Protect. He tried another Pin Missile. It didn't hit and he's starting to slowly lose damage off his Toxic. So I went for a Shadow Ball here, get a critical hit. He hits us with another Pin Missile that doesn't do too much damage, thankfully. So I Protect again here to try and stall out a bit more life. But one thing I did not think about was the fact that Trace could use a full restore. So I went for my Shadow Ball here, trying to take him down, but he went back up to full life. We did manage to get a special defense drop on him, but it was too risky. We weren't able to stay in anymore. So I switch over to go into Graveler. A bit of a risky move because I know it could have went for Thunder, but it went for Quick Attack, so that was all good. And then I decided I was going to finish him off with an Earthquake. Thunder didn't do too much damage as well. It took us down into Orange Life. We use Earthquake, take down a Jolteon, and we finished the fight, which means we've beaten Trace, we've beaten the challenge, we've beaten the run. As always, I've had a lot of fun making this challenge. It was pretty hard having to try and dodge many optional trainers that could harm my team and also work out a safe route for the game, but we managed to make it through in the end and finish a run. Hopefully you've all enjoyed watching too. If you have, be sure to leave a like and a comment, and also subscribe if you're new and would like to see more content like this, and I will see you all in another video very soon. Peace out.